Welcome to A Magical Life, Health, Wealth and Weight Loss. I'm your host, Magic Barclay, lead practitioner at Holistic Natural Health Australia and #1 best-selling author. In this podcast, I aim to give you practical tips on how to accelerate and sustain your health, increase your financial, spiritual and emotional wealth, and to look at something that haunts many of us needlessly, weight loss. In some episodes, I'll have guests available to give you even more tips, but in others, the floor is yours. Drop us a line at A Magical Life Podcast on Facebook and let me know what you would like to know more about. Now, sit back and enjoy, because it is time for you to create and truly discover a magical life. Welcome back to A Magical Life. I'm your host, Magic Barclay, and today I'm joined by Kirsten Horner. Kirsten helps people unlock their energy and inspiration and achieve breakthrough results in business and life through her unique combination of advanced hypnotherapy, mind mastery skills, and high-performance coaching strategies. As founder of the Rapid Mind Shift Project, her focus is on showing others what is possible in resolving emotional challenges, physical pain, and overcoming subconscious roadblocks with lasting results. Formerly an architect, an aerial photographer, and an artist, she shifted from helping make her clients' lifestyle vision a reality to helping make their life vision a reality. That sounds brilliant. She supports her clients in breaking through personal limits, self-doubt, and past traumas with proven processes and her signature 90-day Rapid Mind Shift program. 9 years ago, she set out to searching for new solutions for physical and emotional pain after being confronted with her own chronic health challenges, a condition that experts said she would have to have for life. But they were wrong, and Kirsten found solutions to help her struggles and encourage others not to give up on the search to find their solutions. She now brings together a unique combination of strategies that work for her clients, and get results fast. She can be found at kirstenhorner.com. Kirsten is a certified advanced hypnotherapist and results coach and founder of the Rapid Mind Shift Project. Welcome. What a fantastic bio.
Thanks, Magic. Thank you. Great to have some time with you.
Thank you. Now, tell us a little bit about your health struggles.
Yeah, that was definitely a turning point, and I think you'll find that with a lot of people. It really shifts your priorities. And well, if we go back 10 years, if you were with me then, probably at this time of the morning, nice and early in the morning before sunup, you'd have been with me out on some of the most beautiful freshwater lakes and waterways and beaches around Queensland and New South Wales. And I was out there every weekend as a photographer and out in my camo gear. We were out hiking every weekend, very active life. And a few weeks later, I was virtually immobilized with pain. I had an autoimmune condition hit me, and all my joints just gradually over about 4 to 6 weeks just locked up, and I really couldn't move. And the specialist, the rheumatologist that I was eventually sent to, said that I would have this for life. And that deeply switched me emotionally, just that prospect of that life change and not having a way out of that. Really, it was the first time I really experienced that connection between physical pain and emotional pain, and it was a place I hadn't been in before. So it was a different place for me, and difficult one at the time. Luckily, I had support that over an 18-month period I was searching for other options, and that's what really led me to a therapy that had me moving and mobile and probably 80% pain-free in 4 sessions. So over 3 weeks, my whole life just opened up again. And it was just such a miracle to me that I went on and then trained in that therapy. And that was the turning point where 2013, I've been working with people on physical pain. And then from that, I began to see the connection behind that with emotional situations as well, and realize that some people there was a barrier to really full recovery. And that led me down the path 3 years ago of finding a way to really connect with that emotional side of pain relief. And hypnotherapy really was something that affected me personally and opened a lot up for me, and then was something that I've been able to take to other people with immediate results and just incredible transformations. And it's been that emotional journey for me. I think once I started getting those results, I'd made this decision to switch my career from architecture, from residential design, from this long-term career I'd had, switch it completely over to working with people for emotional pain relief and physical pain relief. And at that point, right at that point when I'd made this decision, right, this is it, this is really important work, I got diagnosed with tongue cancer. And that really, that was a shock, because just as I was beginning to use my voice, I didn't really know how I'd be able to speak after the treatment for that. And I've been very lucky. It's almost exactly 2 years later, and I have had quite a significant operation on my tongue. And I did have my limited edition lisping audios for a while, but that was just a big moment of clarity, I think, to see the importance of what I really wanted to do. And at the same time, I received an email from a client that just really opened me right up. And she'd had a massive shift from our time together in anxiety, just a lifelong struggle with anxiety. And she sent me this email telling me, and I hadn't known this from discussions with her, but she wrote that she'd seriously considered suicide 3 times. And that really affected me emotionally. Just, if there is something that you really want to connect with other people, like, you can literally save a life and turn lives around. And you can do that even just through your own personal healing. So a big part of my message, obviously, from being told that I'd have this for life, this physical pain for life, is to just give people that encouragement not to give up, that this is their challenge, their adventure, and it's something that they can find the solution to in their way. And it may not be what I have to offer. I have a lot of things that are working for other people, but just keep looking. So that's the main part of my message at the moment.
And that's such a beautiful message. You've been through so much there, and most of us as coaches, we have had our struggles, and from our struggles comes our wealth of knowledge and our ability to support our clients. And I just love that your client was able to support you. That is such a beautiful story. Now, often when we're talking about health, we do talk about here the emotional, the spiritual, and the physical. A lot of people see health, Kirsten, as just the physical. I'll get well and I'll feel great in my body, and then that's all there is to it. And they discount the spiritual connection to themselves, to the world around them. But most of all, they discount that emotional level of health. What can your expertise do to accelerate people's emotional health?
Brilliant question. Really interesting. It's been a journey, definitely, for me, going from working with physical pain, and I think coming from a very pragmatic, scientific background, I just stayed with the physical. Just stay with what you can deal with. And then I realized that wasn't fully cutting it. And then I moved into that emotional level, and really, it is phenomenal what breaking through at the emotional level can do physically. And it took me a while to really believe that was possible. And I guess it's been seeing it in front of my own eyes, where you can have long-term physical pain And you can look at every physical treatment there is. But I recently had a client, she'd had 7 years of pain in her joints, and she had tried everything. And we just did this journey in hypnotherapy to explore that. And there was an emotional underlying, like a deep resentment in her from certain things that had happened in her life. So we just followed this journey. We just went where the path took us. And that pain began clearing 7 days later. And she said that within 21 days, it's probably 6 months later now, maybe even longer. Time goes so quickly, but she's pain-free. And that was just a dramatic example of how you can get to the emotional issue. So you're getting to the root cause. So the thing that I talk about a lot with people is everyone has a symptom tree. So if you imagine a tree, beautiful big tree with all its leaves and a big trunk, the roots, a spectacular canopy on it, there's all the leaves, and everyone has this combination of symptoms. And we're generally focusing on the symptoms. We're focusing on those physical issues and how to treat them. What I talk to clients about is the symptom tree. And if you imagine a beautiful big tree and a big canopy, and you imagine a beautiful trunk and the roots of that tree, the physical symptoms, if you see those as the leaves on the tree, and everyone has a different combination of symptoms, of issues that are on their mind, and often that list can be very overwhelming. And it's often a stumbling point for people thinking there's just too much to deal with and I don't know where to start. And that physical side of things can be very overwhelming. So I really encourage people to put the symptom tree aside and go deeper. You go deeper. We go to that root cause, go to the emotional root cause. And that connection is extremely powerful. And I've seen that release of physical pain in people where they've tried everything physically. And when we can get to that root cause, I had a client recently who the underlying root cause was really what she described. She saw it as a deep resentment, really old issues going a long way back. And we just followed this journey in the hypnotherapy process just to acknowledge that, get a different view of it, release that. And her pain that she'd had for over 5 years began clearing after 7 days, and she says is fully gone now for over 6 months. And that was a powerful connection between emotion and physical pain. And now it goes even deeper. I'm definitely now seeing, and have over the last few years, seen what I can only describe as that spiritual healing as well. So I've had all sorts of different things with energy that will come into play, with energies being cleared out, with entities coming into the session. It's really was something that was out of field for me. And it's really important that physical, emotional, and spiritual, it is definitely all working together. And our mind, that visual part of our mind, that healing part of our mind is so incredibly powerful that I just go with the journey in whatever direction it takes. There's nothing that is, unaccepted in that process. Whatever comes up, whatever's happening for people, we just meet it where it's at and allow that visual healing part of your mind to process it in its own way. And it is incredibly powerful.
That is absolutely great. And I really love how you discuss there the symptom tree. My business, Holistic Natural Health, we treat root cause of physical illness, so systems of the body. And we really look at the roots and the trunk of the tree rather than the symptoms being the leaves. So I just love that analogy. And yes, to the listeners out there, whether it's emotional symptoms, physical symptoms, when you're treating that symptom tree, you don't throw everything you've got at the leaves. This is the takeaway here. Just with your emotions, with your physicality, you are not going to look after the leaves and not water the roots, not give them nutrients, not make sure that there's nothing boring into the trunk. So really picture that. And don't discount your emotional health. It has so much to do with your overall health. So I really do love that. Thanks, Kirsten.
Yeah, I think we miss that. That emotional side can sit in the background and it can be a bit of a blind spot. It can be long gone, long past issues that are sitting under the surface, or there can be stresses that just creep up currently. You know, that boiling point can hit us without realizing it, and getting that emotional sort of exhaustion through your system. But definitely going further back. And it's not a matter of sort of digging up the past and getting in the mud and going through years of therapy or analysis or reliving past events or trauma. I'm willing to go and explore any sort of heavy trauma, and I don't consider it, a hard job at all, because we're not going in there and really getting in the mud with it. We're simply giving your mind a different viewpoint of it, and a way to understand it differently, and ultimately a way to shift your connection and your identity in relation to those events and reinterpret them. Interpretation is the most powerful thing, and shifting that interpretation. We really get on a track. We get this deep imprint in our mind and a track of how we see our events in our past. But one of the rules of the mind that I talk about 10 rules of the mind, and one of them is that, and this is so powerful for me, one of them is that we don't experience events in our life. We experience interpretations. And that just has such an impact the way I work with people, because we sort of look back and we see our memories, we see our life, we see our past, and we think it's a series of events. But it is simply a series of our interpretation. And the release and the healing and the power of shifting that interpretation into a way that really serves you is really life-changing. And you don't go back. Like, that's why I say it's long-term results, because once your mind gets a different view of it, once it sees and appreciates things differently, that's it. It gets it.
So true. Now, Kirsten, what are your top 3 tips to creating wealth, be it personal, financial, or emotional wealth?
Oh, fantastic. Yes, results. It's all about the results. And so in results, with how you can enjoy the rewards of life in whatever way, just emotional happiness, fulfillment, satisfaction, in wealth, in enjoying living life the way you really want to. Where I start with the process that I take clients through is with really giving them that shift in their belief, their self-belief, their self-trust, their self-worth, because all the rewards of life can be out there, but if you don't believe that you deserve them or that it's available to you, then there's that barrier between you and all these rewards that are out there. So it's taking down those barriers. It's building that belief. That is the biggest first step, and it's something that you can really wire in. This is what I do with the hypnotherapy, with an audio that you listen to, and repetition is what wires into your mind and can really strengthen. It's giving you a foundation. So a foundation of belief, number one, and then activating your own internal energy, your own inspiration. What is it that you are really inspired to connect with and do and give or serve or provide or create? And how can you monetize that if it's financial success? How can you really take your talents and gifts and connect with them, find meaning? So a big part of the end of the program that I work with people is getting clear on what that personal purpose and goals are. And the reason we do that at the end rather than right at the beginning, I know a lot of coaching starts out with, what's your why and where do you want to go and what are your goals? And maybe even being January, we've set New Year's resolutions. But if you're making an internal shift, what I find is that once people make this internal healing, then often their whole focus can really turn and shift to a different place. So at the end of this process, I do a 90-day program, and towards the end of that, we're really getting clear on that new purpose, and people have new ideas, new inspirations, new projects they want to start, collaborations with other people, just possibilities open up. So number one, belief. Number two, activating your inspiration. And then the third that I like to refer to is daring action. Daring action. So if you take the word dare, for me, DARE, that's daring action rewards expansion. Daring action rewards expansion. And it's just taking that leap. You know, what is the one thing, perhaps the person you want to talk to, the action you want to put in place, perhaps stepping out in a new way, the message you want to take out there. What is that thing that you're holding back from? And just see it as your adventure, your expansion, your learning, your growth, and just knowing that taking that leap is actually accelerating your expansion, accelerating your learning, your experience, and taking you out on this adventure. So I look a lot at fear and how do we not so much overcome fear, but transform it. So transforming fear from something that holds you back into this exciting adventure. And this is again where you can get your visual mind behind you and use the power of that to transform what might be stopping you into the next daring step that can really, leap you far ahead of where you might have expected. But you really have to just take that extra leap outside of your comfort zone. So I'm there to make the comfort zone uncomfortable and help people push past that and help them reach a little higher and accelerate those breakthrough results. And hopefully with that, the rewards that come personally and in a monetary way or whichever way you are looking for success in your life.
Now, earlier offline, we were actually talking about imprints, and you mentioned that we all have imprints running in the background, which are subconsciously driving success or failure. Can you just tell the listeners a little bit about what these imprints are and how they form?
Yes, this is actually, there's 3 keys that I focus on for change. And the first is exactly that. The first is imprints. And imprints are the very early decisions we made about how the world works, about who we are and how we fit into the world. These we all go through life hitting us in some way as we're growing up. And these are the beliefs that we borrowed from other people, that we were told, or that we as a kid made up about how the world works. There's something just very interesting about our mind. And what happens is an event occurs. And it's not only the event. What happens is if you can slow down, meditation's great for it, but if you can just notice when an event happens, your mind will automatically go to, and that means. And if you can notice that thought, and that means, and notice what you fill in the blank. So for instance, if you take just a young child, perhaps just a young kid in school, and they're really curious, they love learning, they're excited, and then one day they get asked to stand up in front of the class and answer a question, and they get it wrong, and all the kids laugh, and the teacher says, "Don't be ridiculous, you're not paying attention." And suddenly they're hit with that feeling of being embarrassed perhaps, but it's in their mind, they think, and that means I'm stupid. Perhaps that's the thought. That means I can't do this. That means I'm a fool. And on we go. This builds this imprint. That's the beginning of this imprint. Then perhaps the next week, mum and dad are home and they're tired and they're doing something. This kid's doing something themselves, and mum or dad just says, "Oh, don't be stupid. Don't do it that way." And it's just an offhand statement, but then it reinforces that thought, that interpretation. That means I'm stupid. And then on it goes, and it's a self-fulfilling prophecy that becomes that imprint. It becomes that highway of the way our thought goes. And so that's what we're unpicking. we're really going back and reinterpreting and realizing that those decisions were made as a child that really didn't know how the world worked. You know, you're not stupid, you just made a mistake. But a 5-year-old doesn't know how the world works. So we can go back and re-look at those imprints. So they're very, very important to open up and make a shift in your life and change the direction of those imprints and literally change your identity, how you see yourself in the world, who you think you are is really, really fascinates me. You know, who are you? But who do you think you are? And getting a shift in that thinking is where that power begins.
So true. I remember back in my childhood, my mother had a saying. I know she listens to this podcast. I'm not sure if she'll remember, but anytime something happened, she said, "Don't be silly." And so actually when I got older, I felt like I couldn't take myself seriously because I was being silly about anything that popped up. And you're so right about those imprints.
Yeah, those little offhand sayings and thoughts and beliefs, and there's so many of them that we say to ourselves. And that's just a perfect example. That's an imprint. And it's something that influences how you see yourself.
Totally. That is such fantastic advice, certainly in building your emotional wealth. Absolutely brilliant. Now, Kirsten, we talk about weight loss here because it's something that so many of us battle needlessly. So, if you've ever battled your weight, what was your trigger to lose it? What can you offer the listeners today to reduce their stress? Because we know that stress is a key issue in weight problems.
Oh, I'm so fascinated with food, with food and weight and emotional eating, and it's been a big part of my life. and it was actually a key to me having a tangible experience personally with hypnotherapy, because I did this process on myself. You can't quite do it as deeply and thoroughly on yourself, but you can definitely go a long way. And I had a massive impact on my own personal emotional eating. And it's something I love to work on with clients. So I absolutely encourage you, if you do want to have a talk about emotional eating or any sort of struggle with weight that just doesn't budge, and when you've tried everything else, and when you know logically what to do, you know, when logic and motivation and willpower aren't working, it's just time to go deeper. There's that emotional barrier in the way. And so one of my favorite topics to work on, because it is actually very easy to get a shift in, and because it's such a tangible shift. So it's going back to exactly those imprints, those beliefs, that identity and how you see yourself, and making a shift in that, building that self-belief. It's building a foundation that you can then change the way that you're connecting with food. And we have so many sayings around food. And when you look at the marketing around food, when you look at the marketing, I think it's Pringles. It says, you know, once you have one, you can't stop. And there's some fantastic marketing slogans that we'll have to dig up for you. But these are the lines that are going in the back of our mind. And what we're doing is using the power of our visual mind to really shift how you connect with food, how you are fulfilled emotionally with food, because it is such a great distraction, isn't it? I mean, chocolate's my thing, you know. Well, look, anything sweet, really. Chocolate, biscuits, ice cream, all of that. And it would just be, there were a lot of different parts of emotional eating for myself. I would eat, and then half an hour later, I'd say to my partner, "I'm hungry." He'd say, "No, you're not hungry. You just ate." "No, I'm hungry." "No, your mind thinks you're hungry. You're not hungry." "But I feel hungry." But it's that feeling of that inner satisfaction in yourself. It's that feeling of having enough in yourself. It's the stress levels that are triggering a distraction away from all those feelings. of stress, of not feeling enough, of not knowing what to do next, of all that overwhelm, that churning of thoughts, that whole symptom tree that's going on. And food is such a soothing antidote for a lot of those feelings. So it's being comfortable with the feelings, and it's looking at the emotional connections, and it's rewiring that visual mind around food. So we literally take out the flavor and the color and the excitement of some of those cravings. So I had a client who, she said, I just cannot go past chocolate chip ice cream. Like, I go to the store, I go home from work, I go straight to that aisle, that's what I get. And after we did our session, she said, you know what, I don't even go down that aisle. Like, I don't even think about it anymore. So it's shifting the priority, the images in your mind, the words that we're using, all of those things around food. And I love it. I love working with food and weight and emotional eating. So bring it on.
This is timely that we're recording this today, because yesterday I had my first hypnosis session with one of my coaches, and something we discussed was cake. I actually don't like eating cake, but something in my mind when I think of cake conjures happiness, and it's more that imprinting. I've never actually really enjoyed cake. And so we discussed this, and during the hypnosis session, I remember her saying cake, but I don't remember anything about what was said or anything. Anyway, so this went on for about 2 hours, and half an hour later, I had to go and do the grocery shopping. And I actually went down the bakery aisle, which I never even shop in because no one in my family eats stuff like that. And I walked past all these cakes, iced cakes and cream cakes, and I just got this shudder up the back of my spine. I actually felt sick to my stomach. There was no more, oh, cake, that makes me feel happy. And, none of that. I could not get out of the aisle fast enough. And my neighbour actually works at the Coles that I was at. And she saw me, and I think she thought I was a lunatic. I was running down the bakery aisle to get away from this cake. So I can definitely tell you this hypnosis does stuff. Because I was so deep in the state, I couldn't tell you what actually happened. But I really don't think cake's a very comforting thought at the moment.
I think that's great. I think that's what a classic example. I can see you running away from the cakes, not the cakes. But it's just a perfect example of where you get to choose what you want in your life now. You get to choose. What is it that you really want? What is it that you insist on? What do you give to yourself? Do you give yourself the best nutrition, the most incredible food, the most fantastic energy and vitamins and colorful food and the best of everything? Or are you giving yourself this sort of doughy pile of chemicals and sugar? And sugar isn't food. It's this grey, bland chemical.
And it actually triggers you to get hungrier. So I don't know for any of the listeners out there that do have the occasional, takeaway meal or something, notice how you feel in the morning after that dinner, because you will be so ravishingly hungry because you haven't got the nutrients. You've got a hit of salt and sugar that actually changes the chemical reactions and the hormonal reactions in your body. And so you're actually not fed. You're not sustained.
It's so right. And then you layer on top of that all the marketing lines, or you layer on top of that all the emotional times when perhaps your grandmother made cakes and you felt happy and you felt good and you felt soothed and loved, and you add all those layers. And it's no wonder these things seem absolutely irresistible, but you have the power. You absolutely can turn around and feed your mind and feed your body exactly what you insist on, what you want for yourself now. And not only what you want for yourself, but what you want for, that ripple effect into the people around you, into your family, into your kids. There's an absolute ripple effect with your own personal healing and with getting yourself back on your purpose and where you want to be. And you can do it quickly. You can do it at a deep level where you really get to decide.
Totally. Look, we've had such a fantastic chat today. It's been really great. You've certainly shared some pearls of wisdom with the listeners. Now, we do love to offer freebies here. So on A Magical Life, this is all about the listeners, about giving our listening audience as much as we can for free, because we just want to get them started on their healing journey, be it emotional, physical, or spiritual healing. So what can you offer us? I noticed that you have a free live masterclass. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so the masterclass coming up is going to be around a simple way. We're going to do it in the session that you can find your number one success strength and your corresponding success block. So I've developed it's come about over the last 2 years of consistently seeing these different patterns and how you can I've developed a quiz where you can quickly work out what your success blocks and your success strengths are. And we can look at that we're doing that in the next live masterclass. But what I can offer everyone is an audio, just a short audio to give you a bit of a reset. And if you want to go to my website, I don't have a direct link to that audio, but if you go and book the free Mindshift call, you can book in that call and you can fill in your details and you can say you've come from the podcast and that you'd like the free audio. And if you want to have a chat with me, that's fine. And if you just would like an audio to listen to and give you a bit of a reset, then you can pick up that audio. I call it the New Beginnings audio.
Now, Kirsten, where can people find you? So you've obviously got rapidmindshift.com. Where else can people find you?
Yeah, they can go to rapidmindshift.com and just my name, kirstenhorner.com. They go to the same place. You can hop into the Facebook group, which is the Rapid Mindshift Project. So the Rapid Mindshift Project is a free group where each month I do a free visualization hypnotherapy session with the group, and you can hop in that and keep up to date with the next masterclass, with what's coming out when I have a free audio coming out, and the next programs that are upcoming. So love to see you there. Hop in the group, hop on the website, book a call and request your audio.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing so much wisdom with the listeners and with me. I've really enjoyed this session. So, folks, you can find Kirsten at kirstenhorner.com and rapidmindshift.com. Some brilliant stuff there. I definitely recommend getting into the next free session and learning more about how to get your emotional health where you really, really want it so it can support you through your life. This was episode 50 of A Magical Life. In episode 51, we have Zane Truscott joining us again, and this time he's talking to us about the 7 steps to vibrant wellness. So that's coming up in episode 51. Soon we will have people like Benjamin J. Harvey coming on and joining us. We will have Dr. Stuart Gillespie from FHS joining us. Lots more wonderful coaches and people from My Magical Life coming in to share their wisdom with you. For now, please do look at your emotional health. Jump in, support yourself, because you are definitely worth it. And go forth and create your magical life. Thanks for listening today. Please subscribe to hear future episodes, leave a review, and share this podcast. You can follow us on Facebook at A Magical Life Podcast or at Holistic Natural Health Australia. That's holistic with a W. You can find us on Instagram at Holistic Natural Health or at www.holisticnaturalhealth.com.au. That's where you'll access all sorts of articles, freebies, and more.